used to hold the mic right under our chin. Somebody do the same. I want to thank you for organising tonight's meeting, and I want to point out this is the biggest gap I've ever seen in any public meeting that I've attended in the last 18 months. I feel as if I should have brought a rope and could have the game of tug of war. But anyway, tonight's meeting, I think I wanted to say at the beginning, is one of hundreds, literally hundreds, that the Yes Scotland campaign is organised in the length and breadth of Scotland at the minute. It's part of this campaign, and it's part of building the biggest grassroots organisation, political organisation Scotland has seen since the anti-poll tax struggle 25 years ago. So in keeping with the cheers being there, hands up if you were involved in the anti-poll tax struggle 25 years ago. Fantastic, well done. And we won a superb victory then as well, didn't we? I wanted to say that the Scottish Socialist Party is proud to be one of the founders of Yes Scotland. The Scottish Socialist Party stands for an independent socialist Scotland, and we have done for the last 17 years. And it's important, I think, to say this vote on September the 18th is the most important vote Scotland's had in 300 years. That's the pressure that's on you. 300 years, the most important vote we've had. And for me, the vote in September is not just a vote for independence, it's a vote against the neoliberal warmongering that is imposed in Scotland by the British state. That's the stakes that are in front of us. And I believe that Scotland's working class majority, people like you and I, have an extraordinary opportunity to break free of those politics, to break free of that neoliberal stranglehold in our lives and the chains that established around our necks. And we have that right because Scotland is a nation. We're a country. We're not a province or a region of anybody else. We're a country. And like 260 other countries in the world, we're entitled to our self-determination just as they are theirs. And as a trade union member my whole life and a socialist, I want to make it clear, supporting the democratic right of nations like Scotland to self-determination doesn't make you a Scottish nationalist. It makes you a democrat. It's a democratic right for the people of Scotland to decide their own future, and support independence, therefore, as far as I'm concerned, makes you a democrat. And I say that because as a socialist, I stand, and the Scottish Socialist Party stands in the same tradition as John Maclean, the leader of the Red Clydesiders 100 years ago, and James Colin, perhaps Edinburgh's most famous socialist, a man executed by the British for his part in the Dublin Rise in the 1960s. Nobody that knows anything about John Maclean or James Connolly would ever describe them as nationalists, but they were passionate about independence because they saw the progressive values and the opportunities that were inherent within it. And the Scottish Socialist Party stands in that tradition. And you'd imagine over the last 18 months, people say to me, in the inch where I live, travelling the country, Colin, what is this debate about? And I'll tell you what this debate is about. The reason I support independence is because working class people like you and I will be better off. It's as simple as that. We'll be better off for independence if we're independent. Better off. Because Scotland, as the OECD has pointed out, with independence, Scotland will be the 14th richest country in the world. 14th richest. Richer than the rest of the UK, richer than France, richer than Japan. We're going to be one of the richest countries in the world. And we'd be like one of the richest countries in the world for a very simple reason. Because we at last will have control of our wealth and our riches. And Scotland's wealth and riches come from a diverse array of sources. Yes, we have oil and gas in the North Sea. And I really don't intend to say much about it here, oil and gas, before I move on to those other parts of our strong economy. Let me just say one thing, because I personally think the oil issue is the weakest argument the No campaign put forward. If you listen to them for 2 minutes, they don't you believe, they say, Colin, that oil, man, it's about to run out. Honest, I'm not sure it'll last the end of the week. And by the way, it's hardly worth rubbings. It is, it fluctuates the price of oil, so worth rubbings. That's what they say, isn't it? And the truth of the matter is, 95% of the countries in the world will give their eye teeth for Scotland's oil and gas reserves that will last for decades to come and have perhaps £2 trillion worth of value for people there. That's that's enough to be saying about oil and gas, I think. But as Louise pointed out, we're also very fortunate. The electricity that Scotland produces, we already produce a third of our electricity from renewable sources, from hydro, from wind, from solar, tidal power. That's an enormous asset for this country. We have world-class financial services, we have tourism, life sciences, IT, world-class universities. And the most important asset, our most valuable asset, you, the people of Scotland. That's our most precious asset, talented, skilled, enterprising, and we have a history of solving problems that are put in front of us. So we have every reason to believe, it stands to reason, if all the wealth generated in Scotland, all the taxes we pay, all the national insurance you pay, all the income tax, all the VAT, all the duty on petrol, tobacco, alcohol, all the corporation tax, capital gains tax, all those taxes stayed here instead of being siphoned off by the UK Treasury, then it stands to reason we'd be better off. And with that extra wealth, the crux of what this debate is about, we can finally address those chronic, deep-seated problems that our society faces as a result of the Union. Where there are 1 in 3 children in Glasgow today, in the 21st century, and potentially the 14th richest country in the world, in poverty. 1 in 3 in Glasgow, our biggest city, who don't have a special pair of shoes for the winter, who are forced to use the same trainers they use in the summer, who don't get to go on the school trips, whose health isn't what it is, who are malnourished. In Glasgow, in the 21st century, that's got to be brought to an end. Priority number 1 for Scotland independent, the eradication of poverty, the eradication of child poverty, the eradication of fuel poverty. In communities like this one in East Edinburgh, that sees 1 in 3 families unable to afford a gas and electric bill. In Scotland, with our power and energy resources, that's got to be brought to an end. 1,000 food banks in Scotland today, the modern day equivalent of the 1930s soup kitchens that my nan and grandpa told me about, back with a vengeance in Scotland in the 21st century, because people don't have enough money to feed themselves.
2 minutes.
These are scandals that we have the wherewithal with independence to eradicate, and they're the priorities. And you have to say that independence affords us the opportunity to say, after the 18th of September, I was campaigning on Princess Street today, you might have seen me, on the megaphone, and I draw everybody's attention, send a petition in front of us to David Cameron and tell him this, that after the 18th of September, there will not be any more David Camerons in Scotland. There will not be any more bedroom tax, there will not be any more poll tax, there will not be any more tried at nuclear weapons, there will not be any more laddies from Pinky being killed in wars abroad for the British Empire. These days are over. We get to decide our future, elect our governments, introduce policies that we support. And you and I know full well, Scotland is essentially a social democratic country. We have values that are left of centre. We are in favour of redistribution of wealth. We are in favour of public ownership. We are in favour of trade union rights. We are in favour of peace, not warmongering. And independence gives us the chance to institute our values instead of having somebody else's imposed upon us. And when we see this information in the last minute available to me, the no campaigns tactic is basically to frighten you. Like Private Fraser in Dad's army, they come along and they go, Colin, we're doomed, Captain Mannering. Our oil is about to run out, our currency is worthless, our pensions won't be paid, we're too weak or too stupid to run our own affairs. With independence, the sun will never shine again. That's the message to put the wind up in. And of course what they say is, Colin, under our proposal, Scotland gets the best of both worlds. We have a strong parliament in Holyrood and vital influence at the international table through Westminster. Well, I'll tell you this, I was an MSP for 4 years, as you know, representing the good people of the Lothians. And my daily experience at Holyrood at EH99 was to be told every day, what could they talk about? Oh, Colin, you can't talk about unemployment here. Oh, no, Colin, you can't talk about the national minimum wage here. No, you can't talk about low pay here, equality for women here. You can't talk about tribal here. You can't talk about the war in Iraq or Afghanistan that we're occupied here. That's for the big boys and girls at Westminster. You just keep playing with your toys. We don't have a strong parliament in Westminster at Holyrood. That's what this We want the powers of an independent free nation. And we don't have vital influence at Westminster either, because if we did, we wouldn't get a bedroom tax we didn't want and we'll never bear. We wouldn't get the privatisation of the Royal Mail that we didn't want and we'll never bear. We didn't want Tribe 2, but we get lumbered with that too. And the fact of the matter is, independence brings those days to an end. So let me say this in my final few seconds. My message to you is that we're going to win a famous victory on the 18th of September. A very famous victory. And I want you to promise yourself that on the 19th of September, when you turn up, when you wake up, you can turn to your loved ones, your husband, your wife, your son, your daughter, your family, turn to your workmates and friends when Scotland has voted for independence and say, I did that, I changed the world forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colin. Let me hand over.